Well, folks, we're visiting today with Erica Bowden. She is the owner of Auntie, a custom order bakery in McArthur, West Virginia, with a population of 1,287 to be exact. Erica, thanks for being on the show today.
Oh my gosh, Jim, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Positively West Virginia is powered by Breezeline high-speed fiber internet and sponsored by Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Key of Morgantown, and Storymaker. With the help of these sponsors, we are able to share the positive business stories of West Virginians, including the one featured in today's episode.
Erica, it's great to have you with us, and I'm looking forward to discussing your business, Auntie. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yes, absolutely. So we are a bakery out of my home that I took part of my basement and made it into a commercial kitchen. Wow. And so now we operate everything out of there. We do anything from custom order cakes to just that dessert for your family reunion, or even now we just started catering. So we even do hot foods for you. Amazing.
And that's all right from your home in McArthur, West Virginia. I mentioned, I wasn't poking fun at all, but I'm just amazed that with a small population like that, you could have a business. And I want to learn more about that. And you're in Raleigh County.
Yes,
correct?
That's right.
Where is McArthur technically, like in
McArthur's kind
geography?
Of like right there in between Beckley and Crab Orchard or Sophia. That's probably the best way to say it.
All
but
right.
Don't blink because you'll miss it.
Well, I wouldn't want to miss it because I wouldn't want to miss Auntie. How did you get started in the bakery business, Erica?
Well, it all started because my nephew is an avid sports kid. He plays basketball and baseball, but baseball's his main sport. And one season, it was kind of right around COVID, and it was like, what can we do for a fundraiser? We've got to raise some money for the travel team, things like that, but you were limited. So that evening, we were at Sunday dinner around my sister's pool, and that's when Auntie was born. So we decided, my brother-in-law said, why don't you make some cake truffles? And I said, yeah, absolutely, which is just cake pops without the stick, because who needs the stick? We can't eat it. So that's what all got it started was, Connor needed a fundraiser, and so why not ask Auntie? And we did a fundraiser that we made over 60 dozen truffles for that fundraiser. Wow. And did great. And so it just continued to snowball. So by the time family dinner was done, Auntie was born on a Sunday with the family, and, it just snowballed from there.
Well, you got to tell us about how the name Auntie came about. I'm imagining it's for Erica.
Yes, absolutely. And with it being for my nephew, they call me Auntie. The kids don't call us Uncle or Auntie or by our names. It's just Uncle and Auntie. Yeah. So Auntie was how it became, and then it was Ease because of my name. Yeah. And it just kept it really traditional and home. Yeah,
I love it. So let's talk a little bit about, the year that you got started. That was like 2020 or so?
Yeah, very end of 2020.
All right, so you've been at this, going on 5 years or so, right? 4.5, 5 years. What inspired you to start a bakery of all things? I mean, obviously, you must be pretty good at it.
I would like to think so. But no, really and truthfully, it really was never designed to be a business.
Yeah, it was just helping your nephew.
It was just helping my nephew. Mm-hmm. And then one person led to another person into, many things, because I was a vision manager for a big box store for 15 years. Wow. And I was still doing that for the first few years of doing Auntie.
Oh, my goodness.
And
was that there in Beckley? Or?
It was still right there in McArthur, actually.
In McArthur, okay.
Yeah, I have a Walmart right at the bottom of my hill. And so it was easy. I never even got on a main road to go to work.
Wow.
And it was really nice. I loved my job. I loved my patients. But my business continued to grow. And so the more it grew, I was working full time and staying up really late. And finally it got to a point that you weighed out your decisions of which way do I need to go? And I thought, this door keeps opening. And so I walked through the door with faith and a lot of prayer and a lot of support from my family, and just decided to be obedient and listen. And the best is yet to come.
Here you are.
Yeah.
I love that backstory. Now, you said you worked at a big box store, and you told us which one. What did you do there?
I was the vision center manager. So I did
goodness.
glasses. And I had been there, like I said, for 15 years and absolutely loved it. I had patients that were loyal patients that I'd watch their kids grow up and everything, but now I do their birthday cakes instead of their glasses.
So birthday cakes, you brought us a sampler here of some amazing looking items.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Talk a little bit about what you're actually known for. What do people come to Auntie E's for?
So mostly right now they're coming to me for like their special occasion cakes, whether it be a birthday cake or like I said, that dessert for a family reunion. But I have a lot of people that come to me because I do gluten-free, I do sugar-free, I have people that are even dairy-free. So I customize. That's the nice thing about being a custom order bakery is because I can customize to what my customer needs, because everybody, no matter their dietary restrictions or allergies, should also always be able to enjoy a sweet slice of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love that. So it really comes down to listening to people, right?
Yeah.
If they have an allergy or an intolerance of wheat or gluten or dairy or whatever, you can really satisfy that need.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's super cool. So if you meet somebody for the first time and they say, Erica, tell us about Auntie E's. What do you tell them in your 30-second pitch?
I always tell them, that with our custom order bakery, we developed our basement into a commercial kitchen. We can customize any dessert that you would like to your specific needs. And now, not only that, but we also can take care of your meals. We do all your hot foods and things now also. So we are now your turnkey food entrepreneur. If you need food, you see us.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, where do your customers live? Are they right there in Raleigh County? Tell us a little bit about your audience.
Oh gosh, we have an audience of Raleigh County, Wyoming County, and even Mercer County. So we have a really wide variety. We've done partnership with Princeton Senior High School this past year, did a lot of fundraisers with them. So that was really nice. I have customers from Wyoming County that have those gluten allergies that don't have anywhere else to go. So they come to me for that customization.
Amazing. Now, you do this full time, your bakery?
I do. This is now my full-time job. When I left retail, it was all Auntie's. Yes, all in.
Do you have any employees?
Well, no, not technically, unless you call my dad and his wife my employees. But really, they're my go-to for a little bit of everything.
They help you out.
Oh, yes,
Some helpers.
absolutely.
That's amazing. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back.
Your prescriptions are designed to keep you healthy, active, full of life. At Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're making vital medicine more affordable. Because when your prescriptions don't cost an arm and a leg, you can use those limbs for something more meaningful. Because life. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, West Virginia.
Folks, we're back. We're visiting today with Erica Bowden. She is the owner of Auntie E's, a custom order bakery in Raleigh County, West Virginia. Erica, in 2024, you were honored as the 2024 West Virginia Hive Survivor Bee of the Year. And I think that's a pretty cool award. It's given by the New River Gorge Regional Development Authority, or the NRGRDA, which I love the Hive and what they're doing down there. Tell us a little bit about your neck of the woods there, Southern West Virginia, and what this award means to you and what it was all about.
Well, this reward, it was truly a reward. It wasn't just an award.
Okay.
Because you go into a business with hopes and prayers that it will take off, and especially being, in your home, you're not just a storefront. And so with that comes a lot of adversity that you have to overcome. And, and I had went through some troubled times. It hadn't always been roses. And so I had a discussion with some of the business advisors about things that I was trying to, overcome. And that story really resonated. And I had no idea that I had won until I actually had a booth set up at the event that they were doing for awards and stuff. And so as I heard Mary Legg from the Hive reading the story, she started off about that. It started off because of a fundraiser for her nephew and things like that. And as I listened, I could feel the tears coming, because it's funny how life deals you certain hands, and you have to learn when to play and when to fold. And so this time in life, I decided to play instead of folding. And I really finally had the winning hand. I had that royal flush. It was ready to go. And so by getting this award, it was like winning that jackpot of saying, you're doing it. You're doing it.
It was almost a validation of sorts.
It was very much so.
I think that's really cool. And I love what you said there about being dealt a hand, because so many times people, they may lose a job, or they may be, downsized or fired, or maybe they quit and don't know what to do. But with some perseverance, a little prayer and faith, like you mentioned, things can really, that could be an amazing moment in time where it takes a negative and turns it into a real positive.
Oh, yeah,
that's what it sounds like. Just in your area, you didn't necessarily lose a job, but you had an opportunity to create a fundraiser for your nephew. And here you are years later with a thriving business. And I think that's super cool. You are a survivor bee.
Yes,
I think it's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for sharing that backstory with us. So, as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, as a baker and a bakery owner, what's one of the most interesting things you've seen since you've been in business?
Oh my gosh. The one I can remember is there is a local funeral home, and a couple girls called and said, "We have a crazy request." I said, "Sure, what do you got?" And she said, "It's one of the guys there's birthday, but he needs gluten-free." I said, "Okay, no problem, I can do that." She said, "But we want it just to look like a field and a cow patty right in the middle. Can you do that?" And I said, "Sure." So you're making the local embalmer his birthday cake that is now a field with a cow patty and gluten-free.
Oh my! That's an awesome
that one was
request.
a pretty crack-up story.
Yeah, that's great. Did you have any pictures of that on your social media?
Oh yes, I'm sure there's a picture
we'll
on
have to
there.
dig that up. That's awesome. Well, Erica, being like I said, I've mentioned the population of McArthur, West Virginia, being 1,287 or something.
Yeah.
And that's a small town. Okay.
It is.
But you're able to get the word out there and have a thriving business right there in a small community. How do you get new customers? How do you get the word out there these days?
Well, for me, I do a lot of events. So if like we have a local vineyard there, Daniel's Vineyards.
Oh yeah, we've had them on the show before.
Yeah, Daniel Vineyards is there. And so they have a wine festival that'll be coming up in June. So we'll be there. We're there every year. And so we take our little sweet treats out and sell those, at the event. So Arts and Crafts Festival will be coming up in August. We go to those. So we do a lot of events, whether it's in Wyoming County, like Pineville does First Fridays that starts in April. Yeah. So that's really how you kind of get the word out there.
You just put yourself out there.
Yeah, you just go put some treats out there. And once they taste it, they're going to find me. Yeah, they're going to definitely find me once they get a taste.
Great. I love it. That's so cool. Right now, in terms of growing your business, what's one of the biggest challenges you face?
Oh, gosh. A big challenge right now is just, supplies are hard sometimes, because the demand or the change, right now the Dubai chocolate bars are a big thing. And so finding the ingredients sometimes can be a challenge, but just really knowing which avenue to take, whether it be, sticking with the dessert and doing festivals or, going with the hot foods, you just have to be very selective. And so that can sometimes be challenging
knowing which direction to take, so to speak.
Exactly.
So I didn't know about these Dubai chocolate bars. Tell me about this, and maybe our audience, maybe everybody's in tune with this, but I'm not.
Yes. Well, we haven't started making them yet.
Okay.
Secret is we start Friday.
Okay.
They're going to go out with our lunches on Friday because every Friday right now we do, we have a menu up on our site right now showing what every Friday's menu is. And so we're doing St. Patty's Day just a little bit early. So this Friday we'll have like a Guinness beef stew, Irish soda bread with a little sample of the Dubai chocolate.
Yeah, what is that?
And that is, it's like a melted chocolate with a pistachio cream inside with almost like a very fine dough that we kind of bake and shred down to put mixed in with the pistachio cream.
Oh my goodness.
And it is absolutely delicious.
Wow. Then, is this something you came up with? Or?
No, this is, I think, TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah, TikTok can really grab us bakers and take us down rabbit holes.
It's good.
And so I'm in that rabbit hole with everyone.
It creates a trend, and people start talking about it. And if you could step in there and offer that locally, that's pretty cool.
Yes. So it has been. It's been really great. And so this Friday, we will start ours.
I love it. Erica, what's the long-term vision for Auntie E's?
Auntie E's long-term vision would be to, at some point, develop our storefront. But at this time, to, just continue to grow and expand. And expanding the business right now is, going into the hot foods. So like I said, we're doing lunches on Fridays, kind of like we did with Auntie E's bakery items when they started, was just getting that out there to you, letting you sample some of our goods. And that way you can see what we have to offer. And then just continue to grow, whether it be with your caterings, because if you're doing a wedding, you have a lot to plan. And so we can be your one-stop shop for any of your hors d'oeuvres, your meal, your cake. We can do all of that for you. And you don't have to go shopping in a million different places.
Yeah, that's amazing. I really like the soul that you have for that and the spirit for serving people. I think that's super cool. Now, as an entrepreneur doing business in a small town, how important is it to have like an organization like the Hive and having resources where you can maybe bounce ideas off of or talk to people or maybe a business coach? How important is that?
Oh, it's extremely important because you don't realize the avenues and the hoops you have to jump through sometimes for certain things. And sometimes you don't even know about certain things. And so having the Hive to talk to and go through that really makes a huge difference, because if they don't know, they have someone to connect you to. They have someone to, help you out with that legal matter or help you out with that accounting matter, or just someone else that's in that same area of business to, kind of be a mentor for you.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Erica.
Yeah.
This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back. Stay connected with an unbeatable deal from Breezeline. Voted best in Mountaineer Country for their reliable, high-speed fiber internet for a low cost, Breezeline is the best gig in town. Here at InnerAction Media, we rely on high-speed internet every single day to ensure we can deliver the best content possible for our clients and when we publish Positively West Virginia each week. That's why we use Breezeline. It's affordable, fast, and they're great people as well. Learn more about Breezeline's internet, TV, and mobile options at breezeline.com. Folks, we're visiting once again with Erica Bowden. She's the founder of Auntie E's, a cool custom bakery in Raleigh County, West Virginia. Erica, as we took a break there, we were talking about having a community of people around you and how important that was. The truth is, entrepreneurs maybe they're sitting there thinking about starting something and they're like, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know where to go. The truth is, no matter what corner of West Virginia you're in, there are resources to help people just like yourself. Talk a little bit about that.
And, I had no idea where I was going, what I was doing. Honestly, it took me a little while to find the Hive, but when I did, that was finding the biggest pot of gold you could find, because the resources they provided, the opportunities they provided, they were so helpful. And not only that, it helped with partnerships with other companies. And so you don't realize all the things that they're going to bring to the table for you and with you. Like they'll walk hand in hand with you and, guide you through that. And so that's been really meaningful. And so if I were starting a business, if I have thoughts, things like that, that's one important thing is find you that business advisor, find you that program that offers this, find someone like the Hive, because really their resources and the things they can help you with are unsurmountable.
Yeah.
Like you can't measure.
You don't have to go it alone. And
Exactly.
That's the thing I'm getting at. And I love what your advice. It's spot on. I think about, the inner circle. There's the John Maxwell law of the inner circle,
Yes.
And you become the people that you hang around the most, right?
Yes.
The 5 or 6 people that you spend the most time with. And, if you don't have somebody in your inner circle that knows these things, get one.
Oh, yeah,
Or
for
10,
sure.
10 or 5 or 6
Yes.
or whatever the number
Yeah.
is. But I think that's really great. When I think about somebody like Erica Bowden there in Raleigh County, you are a leader. You took a step. You're leading your family. You're leading your business. You're leading in your community. What do you think is one of the most important attributes of a successful business leader today, Erica?
I think something that makes us successful, and a lot of people will maybe disagree, but I think it's not only about growing your business and things like that, but sometimes it's giving back. So I think you become successful because of sometimes the things you do for others. So, granted, I do their birthday cakes and I do different things, but there's also, we live in Southern West Virginia where there's sometimes just need. And you may feel like you can't take that hit right then of, giving out, muffins that morning for part of the community or, being this or that. But believe me, a dozen muffins that's given out that day will multiply back in business by 5 dozen muffins because it's like the fishes and loaves,
absolutely.
If you just take that loaf and start spreading it amongst one another, believe me, that pantry won't run dry.
Yeah, that's a lesson of love right there.
Yeah.
And, I belong to a business organization called BNI, and our motto is Givers Gain.
Yes.
And that's exactly right. What goes around comes around, right?
Exactly.
And, it is better to give than to receive.
For sure.
But it's also nice to receive, too.
And man, do you receive in bounties after that.
And the truth is, as business people, as entrepreneurs, we want to help and serve our community.
Right.
But you can't do that
You
unless
have to have limits.
Yeah, well, you have to have success, right?
Yes.
You have to have opportunity to be able to do that, and being successful helps with that.
For sure.
So, have you ever? This is kind of a random question, but have you ever read The E-Myth by Michael Gerber?
I have not.
That's a great book. Well, maybe not, because one of the key stories in that book is about a baker. A woman who was really loved baking, and so all of her friends and family are saying, encouraging her to start opening a bakery. But then she realized that it takes much more than being a great baker. You have to understand. You have to be a technician and a visionary and an entrepreneur.
Gosh.
The E-Myth is the entrepreneur myth. So
yeah,
it's a highly read book for entrepreneurs, and maybe you will.
Yes, absolutely,
I will
read
it after this. But it just reminded me listening to some of the things you're saying there about that story of that woman baker.
Yeah, because it does. I mean, it's not just like throwing a cake in the oven.
Oh yeah, exactly. There's so many
washing
things.
your hands when you're done.
You have.
Listen, there is a. Yeah. I was not an artist, and I still don't think I'm an artist. But you have to get pretty creative sometimes.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, your packaging and your beautiful cookies here that you brought us, they look amazing.
Yes,
Auntie
those
E's.
lemon meringue cookies.
That's wonderful. But one of the things that I think about all the time, as you were talking about leadership and just understanding people and giving back, reading and educating yourself is part of that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So how do you do, what do you do for self-improvement as you're now in your business?
Oh, gosh. I think, part of it is listening to your customers.
Yes.
Trust in your gut. You really have to listen to yourself because as a baker, sometimes, like I talked about a second ago, we can go down those rabbit holes, but you got to figure out when to stop.
Absolutely.
You got to just stay focused, stay in line. You can't just be off a little bit of everywhere.
Absolutely.
And so that, makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Erica, you mentioned your faith a couple of times in this interview. How important is your faith in your business?
Oh gosh, my faith in my business is huge. Yeah. I know that because of things that go on around me, because of, I would think the way that I treat others, I have faith that our business will continue to grow because of my community, because of my neighbors, because of my family, and just because of, a lot of love and trust in one another.
Yeah, that's very good. Appreciate you sharing that. If you could give advice to somebody who is thinking about starting a business and hadn't really done it before, like yourself, what would you tell them?
I think it just, it depends. I think it's great to start a business. I think you should also always, shoot for the stars, shoot for the moon, land in the stars, it's okay. Sometimes it's nice to shadow another person that's doing that same business because, like you said, you don't realize what all goes into it. You don't realize the late nights or, the getting the cake out of the oven and you're tired and you hit the top oven and all of a sudden it's in the floor. And so now you're back to square one.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
We did that not too long ago at Valentine's Day.
Well, you think about that. I mean, running a business is not, like I said, being a baker. That's hard enough, but you got to be a supply chain expert.
Yes.
You have to understand trends and marketing. You have to understand finances and how to read your profit and loss statement, right?
Yeah.
You have to understand customer service and dealing with maybe a troublesome customer every once in a while.
Yeah.
And, but I think you're right. I think that's good. And I think that's really good advice. And especially, for somebody who maybe not living in a metropolitan area, right? Maybe in a small town like yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's really wise. And having that inner circle of people that you can, know, like, and trust.
Yeah, exactly. Like when we go to events and stuff, we sometimes will ask another small business that's either similar to us or even, just starting out, just a basic business, whether it's jewelry making or whatever, let's rent a booth at this festival and let's split the booth together. And that way it gives them a chance to try a festival out without having to go so all in.
Yeah, collaborate.
And exactly. Yeah. And so it helps you build together.
Now, can folks order your products online at this point?
Not yet, but soon. That's another thing that I'm working with the West Virginia Hive right now is, building my website to where they will be able to order online and we'll be able to ship some of our products,
That's cool.
A little bit of anywhere and everywhere. Yeah. I think the furthest I've shipped, by customer calling is to North Dakota.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the furthest we've shipped out.
What about like retail establishments like in the southern West Virginia, New River Gorge area? Are you able to pick them up anywhere, like a coffee shop? We
are working with a few businesses in Raleigh County that we hope to have those in some new coffee shop that just came in.
All right.
We're hoping to have some of our baked goods there soon.
That sounds amazing. Erica, we've covered a lot in this interview. We've covered a lot of ground. I appreciate you. Is there anything else you think our listeners should know about you or your story?
Like I said, you get dealt bad hands, but like I always tell my nephew and stuff, my nephew will say, easy peasy, things like that. And I just tell him, when life throws you lemons, zest them up, squeeze them, and make you a lemon meringue pie and just enjoy it. It's okay. Sit down and don't cry. Just cry with your pie and enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great. In closing out our time, Erica, how can our listeners learn more about Auntie E's and perhaps even get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a Facebook page and it is just Auntie E's. You'll find me there. It's got the little purple logo because, even when you come to my shop, I tell everybody, find me in the purple doors because that's what we have just to distinguish ourselves.
That's great.
So find us on Facebook and it has all of my information there.
Yeah, we'll make sure we have notes in that in the show notes and all the links as well as on our social media, Facebook, LinkedIn. Erica Bowden with Auntie E's. It's been an honor to have you on the podcast today. I just loved your story, working out of your, creating a commercial kitchen in your basement based on some inspiration from your nephew's fundraiser for his baseball team, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's so cool. And I think what you're doing is really great, especially in a small town here in West Virginia, Raleigh County. So keep up the great work.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I do. I appreciate you and just getting to know your story too.
Yes, for sure.
Can't wait to try out these sweet treats. This is awesome. This is awesome. Well, folks, that's a wrap on another episode of Positively West Virginia. If you or someone you know would be a great guest on our show, drop us a line on our website at positively.wv.com. We, of course, appreciate your comments, sharing these great stories like Erica Bowden's and Auntie E's through your social media channels and really helping get the word out there. On behalf of our entire Positively West Virginia team, including our producer today, Mr. Jimmy Murray behind the controls. Thanks, Jimmy. I'm your host, Jim Matuga. Stay positive, West Virginia.
We'd like to thank our partners, Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Kia of Morgantown, InnerAction Media, Storymaker, and our studio sponsor, Breezeline, for helping to share these positive stories. If you'd like to become a sponsor of the Positively West Virginia podcast, visit positively.wv.com/sponsor.